Hello, I'm at GufFromTheHouse.com, and I'm here with Jason Henderson from Burton Snowboards. How you doing, Jason?
Spectacular. How you doing?
Doing so good right now.
Good.
So good. It feels great that we have all of the Burton product in at thehouse.com. So if you guys are looking for new product and you want Burton stuff, we have it. But Jason's in walking us through the 2019 line. This is the Burton Binding overview for the season. You have 8 total bindings. And there's a lot of different little pieces and variations within kind of each with EST and reflex options. But as we start going from left to right, how do you see this line kind of from 35,000 feet up?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's obviously we make a lot of different bindings for every type of rider out there, but as you go up in the Burton line, you get a lot of different performance features, to match up with that style of riding.
Right.
Obviously different price points. Everybody's got different budgets and things like that. But when you go up in price, generally speaking, in the Burton line, you're going to get something with more comfortable straps. Maybe a little more responsive high back, a little bit better, more intuitive footbed. Things like that. So depending on what style of riding you're doing, or if you're a beginner, intermediate, stuff like that, it's really gonna kind of depend on which one you go. You kind of hone in on. So
right.
Just generally speaking, starting up to freestyle, that's just our base model. Really soft, easy, super comfortable binding, polycarbonate tray, so it's pretty forgiving. So a little softer binding. What that does is it doesn't make the board react so quick. It gets a little more forgiving.
Right.
Even a lighter weight rider. They just don't really need anything super stiff.
Right.
Still reflex. So what that does is it actually a reduced amount of plastic. We have a hinge built into the mounting disc itself. So when the board's flexing, the binding and the disc and everything are flexing with it. So there's no dead spots. So that's on. That's an option on all of our bindings.
Got it.
A nice React strap, so super comfortable straps, really soft, high back, just super forgiving that way. Then, you go up from there, you go to, a better toe strap and the Get a Grip. So
yeah, that toe strap is all the way up into the Cartel, which is my favorite binding.
Yep. So, and this strap's been in line for years. We've trickled it down, and it's still, one of the best toe straps out there, in my opinion. So.
Right. And it was kind of cool too when Jason first got in today. We were talking about, what bindings work best with what boards and what terrain. And he brought up an excellent point. The EST option custom would be a perfect pow slasher. A little bit soft, super forgiving when it comes to like flexing the board. And an awesome price point.
Yeah, killer price, great straps. It's got the little thin shred bed, kind of like what's in the X base even. It's just real thin. It's not as thick as some of the like the Malavita or Cartel EST, so a little better board feel. So, but if you're in POW, you want something soft and surfy,
right?
Yeah, I'll just throw those things on.
Right. It's kind of cool too, because like kind of starting out with these first entry models, it's like sure they're lower price point. It helps people like become brand loyalists, get into riding. You can still ride the custom as a freestyle riding too.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the thing. Is like it's not necessarily, you don't necessarily get a more durable binding when you go up in price.
Right.
That's. You're just
with
getting
Burton.
Yeah, well, yeah, with Burton anyway. Like there's a little bit of durability between like our hammock straps that are on like Mission on up versus a stitch strap. Like these are going to be more durable because you don't have fabric and textiles and things like that could potentially wear out and shred or anything like that. But anything else, like the componentry itself is there's no real difference in quality. Just when you go up in price, you might get a lighter binding. You're going to get a more comfortable strap. You get performance features, not necessarily like, it's not like, this one's just going to fall apart on you after 3 days of using it. Like, it's going to be what lines up with, your style of riding.
Got it. But then we kind of move into like the Mission and what a lot of people would consider being park style bindings. Mission, Cartel, Malavita, even though the Mission or the Malavita and Cartel could still fall into all mountain.
Yep.
What's going on with that kind of special?
Well, really, once you start to get up into the Mission, that's kind of the, like in my opinion, the best bang for the buck. Like that's, the Mission will drive any of the boards, or it'll drive any of the boards in line. So if you, blow all your money on a Custom X, you can throw a Mission on there and it's going to be stiff enough to drive that board because it does
Right.
have a fiberglass loaded nylon tray. It's going to give you that response.
Right.
It's got really good new updated to the Mission this year is we went with the Hammock Strap 2.0.
Got it.
So super comfy. Again, hammock straps are injection molded, so you don't. It's actually a greener manufacturing process because there's really no waste in that, versus having textiles and things like that. So
Right.
Killer binding for the money. We actually dropped the price down to $240. So
Yeah, that's perfect. And another kind of cool thing that a lot of people may not know is that across the entire line, there's a full bed of cushioning. Like a full bed. There's a lot of manufacturers out there that kind of just do a little bit of padding in the heel, but maybe a little in the toe.
just enough to cover the disc or whatever. But yeah, this goes all the way through to the there's no plastic underneath your heel in reflex.
Right.
So.
Cool. And then on to like my favorite binding. This is the Cartel.
Yep.
This thing rules. A little stiffer than the Mission and the Malavita.
Yep. So here you go. It's still a glass-loaded nylon, but here you go up to 45% fiberglass to nylon versus 30% with the Mission or Malavita or even like Genesis. But going by increasing that 15% with the fiberglass content, you're going to get it's going to be a lot stiffer. So
Right.
you're going to have that rigidity of like a carbon base plate, just without the price tag.
A little bit lower price point.
Yep.
And that colorway, gosh, that colorway is cool. When we were kind of pulling bindings out, we had two colorway options of the Cartels. One has the black and white with the eye on it, and you were like, nah, let's grab the red one. And like we pulled it out, and I forgot
I
how
like the red
awesome.
personally.
Forgot how it kind of matches your shirt.
A little bit. Well, they do tie back to the boards too. Like some
Right.
of the colorways in the custom boards. Like the 56 will have the red, and
Cool.
it'll match up with the process, which has got
Right.
some red accents. And,
Yep. And then
or it's just a good pop colorway. Go on anything.
that's right. You could just wear it all black and then have bright red bindings.
There you go.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
And then this is your favorite binding, the Malavita, right?
Yeah, for strap bindings, that's my favorite one. So
Right.
here you go. Again, back down to the 30% glass nylon. A little different design on the. It shares the same mold as the Cartel, but a little bit softer. So,
Got it.
but here you go to a little bit more forgiving strap setup. You've got the asymmetrical hammock strap, so a
Yep.
little less, not as much of a wing on here, so it allows for a little bit of more lateral movement. And also the material itself is a little softer on the hammock. So
Then what do you find the
then
Cartel?
we find on Cartel and Mission. So
Okay.
those are definitely a little bit stiffer, more responsive to give you that super locked down feel. This one will give you just a little bit more movement.
Cool.
Then you go to the new Super Grip 2.0.
2.0. It's
on
a
the
nice
toe
upgrade.
strap. So it wraps a lot better. It's lighter.
Great.
It just fits overall a lot better than the regular Super Grip from the past 2 years.
Right. And then also it has like B3 gel and pretty much Cartel.
On up. Yep.
Besides the X-Base, right?
Yep. And also auto canting in the footbed. The cushioning itself is what we call auto cant. So what it is, it's a softer density EVA on the inside of the binding versus the outside. So when you're really driving those toe edge turns, your boot tends to roll towards the inside, and having that cant just gives you a little more leverage to power through those turns. But you also want your boot to be able to roll flat too, then it's not as hard on your knees, because if you just have a full-time cant in there, it can really bother your knees, especially if you're riding negative back angles, that sort of thing.
Sure. Cool. And then we kind of get into this all mountain high performance category.
Yeah, you kind of get into the tackier bindings, like
Tech.
in
Nerd stuff.
yeah. So then you get into Genesis. So a lot of guys ride this. I mean, they like it just because it's really super kind of floaty in a way, because of the hammock strap. But the hammock strap itself is a softer density.
Okay. Similar to what you find in the Malavita besides its shape.
But a different shape. Yep. And then it also has the full hammock in it, so it almost looks like you got two high backs there. But you have the external high back that's fiberglass loaded nylon here too, so it's really stiff and responsive. But this internal hammock, it just molds around the backstay of your boot. It's got this grip panel in here. It's got this little thing we call the spring there. So that just really wraps around your boot and allows your boot to roll in there as you're riding. But then when you go to turn, that's when the external high back kicks in. So definitely one of the bindings that you can ride a click or two looser and still have your boot anchored into the.
Yep. Feels snug without too tight.
Yep. So.
Yeah.
So definitely a little bit softer. I wouldn't say softer, but a little bit more floaty, I guess. You know, it allows your boot to roll in the binding a little bit more.
Got it.
Than some of the other ones.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting, like across basically Mission on up with the mold injected straps, like even though the strap durometer ratings vary from soft to more stiff or more responsive, it does a really good job at making your foot is secure in the binding, but you don't feel a lot of the pressure on your foot through your boot.
Yeah, and that's kind of, so it's putting, you go something like that, I guess I always kind of think, you always think of your boot and your binding as like a package. Like that's where, you know, something like a binding like this is kind of throwing the emphasis of the fit on your boot. Like if you've got a really good fitting boot that you don't have to crank down, it gives you a really good heel hold. You know, spend more money on boots, get that boot that fits you right.
That's right.
Then you can put them in, you know, you can put them in a binding that you don't have to crank down as tight because your boot's doing that. And then it's just less pressure on your feet, but you're still being able to get that board to turn.
Right on.
So that's kind of a thing. You get a cheaper boot, you know, you get heel lift. Then it's like, oh, I just crank my straps down tighter. Then you got pressure on your feet, and you know,
your feet get cold.
Yeah, your feet get cold, and they hurt, and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna go to the bar or whatever. Like, it's like, all right, well, you just blew all that money on the lift ticket, you know.
Right. So. Oh man! And then we kind of step into the next generation of the Genesis. This is the Genesis X.
Yep. So the X. So real similar design, you know, same componentry, but you go to a carbon-loaded nylon.
Got it.
So lighter, but also again stiffer. So it's gonna have kind of the same stiffness as like a Cartel on the base plate, but you also get the hammock on it, so it's gonna be a little softer, not quite as locked down as like a Cartel.
Okay.
And then the actual durometer on the hammock on this is stiffer than the regular Genesis.
Okay.
So a little stiffer on the base plate, little stiffer straps to kind of lock you in, but still having that kind of, you know, pressure-free high back there. So want something just a little bit more toe and heel edge response.
Yeah, and then lastly, the lightest binding out there.
Yep. So then you get into the X base. So this is you know, for the super techie guys that want super light, minimal. So you go to the carbon loaded base plates. You know, you also get titanium hardware on there. So and then you also get a just one piece, you know, carbon high back. So. Yeah. So it's shaped really well, though. It's not like some of the old, if you remember from like the CFXs and back in the day. So those, a lot of people probably don't even know what we're talking about, but those are just straight, like basically like axe heads of carbon jamming in the back of your leg.
Right.
Like, they've done a really good job of forming these really well, and you know, so they're stiff, but they don't like, you know, they've got them formed right, so they're not giving you pressure.
That's right. Yeah, I had one of my friends, Emilio Victor Gordines. One of my best buds growing up, he had a pair of those, and yeah, dude, I was so jealous of him because it's just like all carbon and everything. It was so stuffed. But this is just like, this is an unreal binding, and I said it in another video that we shot when we were kind of pulling these bindings out, just like pulling the binding out. Without even looking at the name that was on the box, I knew it was an X base because.
It's almost half the weight.
It is. It's absolutely incredible.
Well, and especially the EST version of that, like, you know, you don't. You know, with EST, you don't factor in the weight of the mounting hardware, you know, the discs and, you know, 4 screws per binding. You know, it's a lot of other stuff. Yep. So.
Yeah, that's killer. So, Jayson, which one? Okay, I'm just gonna throw some boards out there. You tell me which board would match up with, or which binding would match up with the board. Let's go process.
Process. So then I would say, you know, good matchup there would be, you know, Mission, Cartel, Malavita.
Okay.
You know, I'd say these 3.
Sure. Okay, Custom X Flying V.
Custom X Flying V?
Yeah.
I mean, really, like Malavita, Genesis.
Okay, Custom X.
Then, you know, basically, you know, Malavita, but Cartel. If you're really gonna like, if you're getting that board because you want stiff pop, like snappy response, then match it up with a Cartel or X base or even a Genesis X. Because it's got the carbon, the stiffer base plates.
Right, and that, you know, that's kind of the thing too. Is like no matter what board you ride, you can put any of those bindings on it, and you can have a fun time.
Yeah, anything Mission on up will drive any of the boards in the line. A lot of it's just more so extra comfort features, like, you know, okay, I want a little stiffer response. Okay, I'll go with the Cartel. I want, you know, a little bit softer flexing lateral, you know, just kind of movement, then I'll go with maybe a Malavita and an EST, or
Right.
like you can really just kind of dial in what you like. So
That's awesome. Well, it's great because Burton has a binding basically out there for everyone, from
Yeah.
people just starting to the people that have been doing it for 30 years. you know.
and and also like for you park rats out there, street guys that just they're riding super soft twins, things like that just want something spongy and jibby.
But
The custom.
custom.
I mean, even freestyle's not bad. I mean, that's spongy
Your
high.
thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, quality's not really the thing. It's just more so like what you like in a flexible binding. So
Right. Awesome, man. Jayson, thanks so much again for walking us through.
Appreciate it.
Yep, you're welcome, and thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment or a question. Let us know if you want to know anything more about any of the bindings for 2019. You can see all the bindings and all the pieces at thehouse.com by selecting the link below in the description. Subscribe to the channel over there. Check out more vids here, and hopefully we'll see you guys on snow. Peace.
See ya.